I want to start, thank you for being here. I wish I could personally meet each one of you, but we'll have to connect in this way. How many of you would say that you tried to meditate, but somehow you couldn't quiet your mind, you couldn't somehow get into this magical place that you're supposed to be, and you kind of gave up on it? How many people would? That's pretty usual, okay? My one goal, I have two goals here today. One is to debunk that. You're all already great mindfulness practitioners, okay? We're just going to learn how to use it more skillfully and expand it out in the ways that you're already doing. Our definition of mindfulness is moment-to-moment, non-judgmental awareness, okay? Moment-to-moment, non-judgmental awareness. You know that story, be here now, and there's a lot in that. When your mind is focused and is present, it's a different physiology that we're going to understand and learn about. So peaceful awareness. So here's somebody who's reading, okay? It looks like they're reading, and the way that I think that is easiest to understand mindfulness and what it is the difference between, you know, when you're reading and a thought comes up or you're reading something and then your mind takes off and goes off into the ozone. And at some point you wake up, your eyes just keep on going down the page, you might even turn the page, and at some point you wake up and realize, I don't know a damn thing on that page. Okay, we all have that experience. It could be for pleasure or we're trying to do some work that we're trying to focus on, but the mind keeps flying away. Okay, so if we just kind of analyze that, we know, you guys know, that is a white piece of paper with these pixels on it, okay? And the light hits it and it's reflected in your eye and it goes to the lens reflects it to the sensors in the back and it goes through this mush. And when you're really there reading, there's this mysterious thing we call awareness that's connected to that visual sense and you're actually there. Okay, the circuit's complete. When your mind flies off, the same pixels are in the paper, the light's hitting it, it's reflected into your eye, it hits the sensors, it goes through this mush, but the awareness is somewhere away. It's not connected. And it's a totally different experience. So if we think of that and we see that we want to just live our lives reading, we want to stay present. The problem is that we have this strong habit to keep on flying away. And that's okay, because we're going to look at that and see what's really critical here is not flying away, but how we bring ourselves back. So the one thing that I also want you to understand is that this is an incredible changing world. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. It's just so much question out there. But can you imagine the one thing that you could count on for the rest of your life is your own mind always being kind to you? That no matter what happens in your life, what challenges come up, personally in the world, the one thing you could always count on is your own mind being kind to you, to itself. And to me, that's your birthright. And mindfulness is a tool for cultivating that in your life and having that for yourself, for the quality of your life. So meditation is nothing mysterious. We can all do it, okay? So stress. Stress, this is Time Magazine, 1983. Stress is a big issue, as we all know. In medicine, physician burnout is a terrible problem. Stanford formed a committee to start addressing this crisis in medicine. Physicians are now #1 in suicide, okay? So Chief of Wellness Officer at Stanford Medicine, not only do burnout physicians provide lower quality care, and you could extrapolate to yourself, lower quality of your work, of your family relationship, of your life when you're burned out. But replacing physicians who leave because of burnout is a tremendous cost, $5 billion a year, okay? And the fear of showing weakness, we all have this. What if I admitted that I'm struggling here? What if I admit that that this is hard on me, that I don't feel like I'm as competent as I should be? That fear is in medicine and it's in all professions. Every year it takes the graduates of 3 medical schools to replace the physicians that committed suicide that year. This is an enormous, terrible statistic. Now, I put Sally Ride's picture on there because in 1977, my girlfriend who I lived with, her brother was a physics graduate student at Stanford. And so we lived in a household of physics graduate students. And Sally was my girlfriend's brother's girlfriend. So Sally was always at our house there. Wonderful lady, wonderful person. But there was this big schism because I was into this weird thing of meditation and Eastern philosophy. And here's these physics graduate students who are the scientists. And it was like this world apart. And they would make fun of me all the time. But I love science. So I felt, interested in what they were doing, even though they weren't interested in what I was doing. So if we look at this is research that came out we look at 1977, we'll be back there, we see 0 peer-reviewed articles on mindfulness or meditation effect on health or other aspects of life. And we look up to 2016, and we see 667 peer-reviewed published articles. And this is exponentially going up. There's thousands of articles, studies right now that are going on. And so we see that all of a sudden science has come together. And at the same time that Sally Ride's book came out, at my house, when I was living with all these students, we always had Scientific America, and I would read it and love it. At the same time, I was at the airport and I wanted to get her book, and I saw Scientific America, and there on the cover was the neuroscience of meditation. Talk about going full circle, okay? And here's some of the interesting things. You don't have to be a neuroscientist to know this, but there's important things to understand about our brain, basically your operating system, how it's working and how it's functioning inside of you. So we have this part of the brain that's the wandering mind. And what we know about this is that when you're not focused on something, your mind it's like Pigpen, the ball of dirt that we carry around with wherever we go. And there's some aspects you should stand. They even identified the part of the brain. So this orange part here, the posterior cingulate cortex, is that part that's active when you're not focused, and it's scattered. And what we should know about that is this part of the brain is not kind to you. It's not pleasant. People who are operating this way are unhappy. Happiness does not come out of not being focused and not being aware of what we call automatic pilot on the default mode. So if you're going to be happy, you're going to need to have to focus your attention in these ways that mindfulness contributes to. So if we look at one of the important parts to understand about meditation practice is that a big part of this is that when you wake up to realize that you've wandered away, that your mind's gone off, you're really already back. If you can know that your mind slipped away, it's not slipped away anymore. And so recognizing this is a whole different physiology in the brain, this moment of waking up to that you've been distracted, okay? And then when we bring our attention back to the present moment, to our focus, that's another physiology of the brain. Okay? And that's pretty much what meditation looks like most of the time, is recognizing you've gone away and bringing yourself back. And what I love to teach is that critical is that this is like lifting a weight. So if I want to build my bicep muscle, I have to put energy in and lift. As we come back, we're building. The brain, one of the things that we recognize is the brain is plastic. It's always growing. And the way that you're using it, so when you bring yourself back, you're actually growing those parts of the brain that have to do with executive function. So as you're coming back, instead of like what I call the oh shit mantra, oh shit, I went away, oh shit, this is shit. Okay, we go, oh, we shorten that. Or we can even go, oh good, all right? And as we come back, what's critical, what fires together, wires together. So this is an opportunity to be kind to yourself, to build kindness, to build the kindness that we talked about. As you're coming back, you want to come back with all the qualities you want to grow. loving yourself, being kind to yourself, being understanding, being patient with yourself. All those qualities as you come back will grow if you come back intentionally and with cultivating those qualities. And so sustained focus is, you can see how much less of the brain is being used when you're actually focused, okay? It's quiet. Only the parts of the brain that need to be used are being used, okay? So what they found out is that as you do these practices, and they study practitioners, that they're actually growing the parts of the brain, more gray matter, in the areas that have to do with executive function, okay? So you can grow this in your life. You don't have to stay focused. You don't have to not be upset because you're losing it. You have to recognize it and come back with the quality and understanding that this is it. This is the practice. And this is the way I grow. Okay? So we could see there's lots of studies that showing what's happening there. So modern science has now bridged this schism. And I love it when two different things come together. You see this in your company. Steve Jobs brought art and technology together. If it was just technology, you wouldn't have this company you had today. You have to have the art. You have to have beautiful items that you're wearing and want to use and touch and feel. Okay? So I love when we bridge these things that seem to be opposite. The Nobel Prize in economics was given to somebody who brought in psychology to economic field. Bridge these two schisms. So what we know about science now, about the brain, is neuroplastic. You're always growing the brain. So whatever you're practicing, you're growing those pathways. The other thing that we know about that's kind of interesting is epigenetics. So your genetic predisposition can be expressed or not expressed. And a lot of that has to do with your physiology. It's how peaceful you are. Creates a different genetic expression than being stressed out, okay? Another discovery is telomeres and telomerase. Now, Elizabeth Blackburn won the Nobel Prize in Physiology of Medicine in 2009 for her discovery of telomeres. Telomeres are the protective caps at the end of our chromosomes, okay? And as a cell divides, these protective caps get shorter and shorter till it times out the life of that cell, and then the cell dies and its products become recycled, okay? And that's normal. But what they found is that stress frays these telomeres, these protective endings of your cells, so it's literally aging you at the cellular chromosomal level to be stressed out. The stress hormones, cortisol and all these other chemicals that we unfortunately live bathed in all the time and that we want to start doing something about are actually damaging us. But what they found out, again, here's a Nobel Prize winning scientist in her lab bringing in psychologists looking at meditation, bringing these two worlds together. And what they found out with meditation practice, it actually increases the telomerase, which is a chemical that repairs these frays and therefore makes your very cells and chromosomes younger again. So this practice has implications on so many different levels. Health and happiness, okay? And that's what we want to cultivate because we want your life is important to the world and your health and happiness is important to the world, okay? So we want to start doing this. Now, a pivotal book about all this science and research you get is Richie Davison and Dan Goldman, who wrote the book Emotional Intelligence. This book, Altered Traits, is about the science behind all the meditative contemplative practices. I highly recommend this book for you. So let's talk about the practice itself. And one of the things that I want you to understand that's going on in your operating system is something that the way you're communicating with yourself inside, okay? So if I say, gee, I'm really happy to be at Apple Computer today. You guys are just great. I'm so excited to be with you. You can't tell how happy I am. I'm just so happy. Okay. So my words are saying one thing, but my body language is saying something else, okay? And what wins that is the body language. about 70-some% is estimated of what we communicate is really with our body language. A lot of it is with our tone of voice, which is another type of body language. And the words are really small. So this is why you listen to music and say, my girlfriend left me and I lost my car and I broke, and you start to feel happy, okay? Because the beat is a happy beat and the body language is happy, so you get happy, okay? So we have a body language inside of us that determines what pathway our physiology goes. So our pathway can go to being very stressed and reactive, or being peaceful. And it really, a lot of it depends on an unconscious process going on inside that we want to bring out into consciousness, okay? And that's the way your diaphragm moves inside your body, the way you breathe. See if that. So the way you're supposed to breathe, and you all heard this in a yoga class, breathe into your belly, or somebody, you're upset, take a couple belly breaths, okay? Well, the problem is that a lot of us, unfortunately, and when I teach classes and I look at the percentages of people, it's a very high percentage, have trained themselves to breathe in what we call reciprocally. As you breathe in, your diaphragm goes up into your chest and your chest barrels out. I'm going to take a deep, relaxing breath. Well, that movement inside that I just did, and I can feel it because I've trained myself to feel this, is I release stress hormones moving in that physiology inside. My body language said, even though I want to be peaceful, something's wrong here. I better get prepared to fight or flight. Okay? So we want to get control of our breathing. When you breathe in, the reason the yogis say breathe into your belly is because what's happening is your diaphragm's going down, increasing the volume of your lung space longitudinally. Okay? And that movement is the body language that says, I can be peaceful here. Everything's okay. I can relax. And it changes your hormones, and it changes your muscle tone, and it changes the way your brain's working, okay? The way you breathe. So we're going to do a little experiment right now. So I want you to sit up, and I want you to just imagine for a moment that we're all sitting on the beach, laying on the beach in Hawaii, okay? We're laying out and feeling the warm sand and the sun's coming down on us, and a cool breeze is keeping us comfortable, and we can hear the sound of the waves, the smell of plumeria and birds singing around us. And I want you to just take a few breaths, breathing up into your top of your lungs, into the top of your chest, like you're breathing up into your shoulders. And just notice how you feel inside. Notice your engine revving inside. The sensations, your thoughts as you're laying here on the beach. And now I want you to remember where you are. You're laying on the beach in Hawaii. It's a beautiful day, the sun, the cooling breeze, sound of birds, smell of plumeria, the sound of the oceans. And I want you to shift your breathing down, so you're breathing down past the bottom of your lungs and opening and breathing into your belly the best you can. And just notice how you feel. Okay? And now I want you to imagine you have a challenge, a problem, a stressor in your life, work or home. And I want you to, as you're holding this in your mind, I want you to breathe up into the top of your lungs, into your upper back again. So you're as you're breathing, notice how you're feeling about this problem. And then again, with the same situation, with the same challenge, with the same issue, I want you to shift your breathing down into the bottom of your belly. And notice how you feel. Notice your thoughts about this issue. Okay, and open your eyes. So a couple people, tell me what you noticed. Yeah.
When I'm breathing up through my lungs and my shoulders, I feel more of a light sensation, so like kind of bright lights kind of behind my closed eyes. It seems like it's more of an intellectually stimulated place, whereas when I breathe through my belly, it goes a little bit darker, it feels more grounded, and it's more rooted in my body rather than my mind.
Mm-hmm. Good, good. Anybody else? One other. Okay. How many people felt a difference? Okay. So you guided yourself into two physiologies. One is the fight or flight physiology, breathing up here, releasing stress hormones. And the other was into the parasympathetic mode, the peaceful mode. And if you notice just having an imaginary problem or a real problem, that you would be taken in two different directions. One would be much more creative and solution-oriented, and which would be more reactive. Now, the way our brain works is like a seesaw. So in that stress pathway, what happens is the higher centers of the brain shut down. The creative, the prefrontal cortex, okay, the neocortex. And the part that's firing is the amygdala, the reactive part of the brain, which can only think of two possibilities. I'm going to run or I'm going to fight. Okay? So it's really dumb. It's reactive. It's not the part that's going to create a creative solution. So understanding that your physiology changes your chemistry, your brain function, and the possibilities, the way you respond to things. So let's talk about meditation. So, yes? Yes?
In the second mode, I felt less motivated, though, to do anything about the problem.
Uh-huh. And that's a good point, okay? So I teach at Stanford, and we have a course in the medical school that students throughout Stanford can come. A lot of people, and particularly I see this in very successful, well-motivated people, have trained themselves to use stress as a stimulant to get them to be as good. So you want to do good in your life, okay? You want to be successful, all right? And if your mechanism for thinking that that's the way to do that is to be hard on yourself and to beat yourself up, and you all of a sudden relax, the fear is that I'll be unmotivated, I'll be like the rest of the schnooks out there and won't succeed, right? It's the opposite of that, and what I love to do is to teach these people that there's even a better pathway. You're not going to be lazy. That's not who you are. You're not going to fail. You'll actually do better. You'll be more creative and more outcome. You'll burn less fuel, too, while you're doing that, which is stress. So practice. So we just did a practice that we could call a formal practice. What formal practice is people who sit down and try to focus. The core of the focus in meditation is awareness of breathing. So you always have that with you. You're always breathing. The most important thing to your brain is taking the next breath. Okay? Everything else is secondary. So we have the experience. So what we want to do with our meditation focus is we want to be experientially focused. So when I ask people, I've kind of already given away, how many breaths did you feel yourself take today? All right. People will come in and say, God, I was so stressed today, I didn't breathe all day. All right. And what they mean by that is they weren't connected to themselves to actually experience one breath they took. Obviously, they didn't turn blue and faint, but you weren't connected within yourself to actually feel yourself breathe. Okay? So what we want to focus on is our experiential connection. So we talked about the reading, having the circuits complete. We want to have the circuits complete for the nerve endings within our body. All meditation is our five senses. You're feeling yourself in the chair right now. You're feeling your clothing touching your skin. You're feeling the temperature of the room. You're feeling pressures. You're feeling yourself breathe. You're hearing my voice through your ears. You're seeing the light coming to you with your eyes. And so we use our five senses, taste and smell. And we also consider the watching our thoughts as a sense experience. So we tune in not to the content of the thought, but the actual feeling of the activity of the mind. So that doesn't become a distraction. That's actually one of the focuses of being mindful. Okay? Mindfulness is very inclusive. So what we do in a formal practice is you might sit and dedicate some time, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it might be, and to concentrate on the core, let's say, just breathing, just awareness of your breathing. It's not the concept that I must be breathing, but where do I feel in my body the sensations as breathing is occurring? As the in-breath, feeling the air brushing the skin of your nostril. The actual sensation of that, not the thought that that's happening, the feeling of it happening, okay? The feeling of your body opening up and the air coming in. The feeling of letting go and the air moving out through you, okay? That's the core concentration in all meditative practice. It's very simple, but it's very difficult because the mind runs away, like we've talked about all the time, away from that. But we recognize that now, and we know that that's part of it, and all we have to do is when we wake up, and we can know the brain physiology of waking up to that, and directing yourself back and feeling it, okay? That's what formal practice is, and I encourage you to dedicate yourself to doing that, to do a period of time in your life where you do a formal practice, okay? Informal practice. So what informal practice is your day, your whole day, your experience of life, living life. So informal practice is going to the bathroom, eating, making love, taking a shower, okay? And let's take a focus on this wonderful thing of taking a shower. So if you think of the history of mankind, a few generations ago, all of our ancestors, being clean was an incredible challenge. To be able to take a shower, kings and queens didn't take baths, very often. All right? For you to get up every morning and go to this magical room and turn this knob, and not only does water come out, it's hot water. I mean, in the history of mankind, to be comfortable, not freezing cold when you're trying to clean yourself is a miracle in the history of mankind. And not only that, you have this incredible soap. It's not lye that they somehow processed into soap. This is this, incredible soap with herbs and spices. And then when you're washing your hair, you have kings and queens would have loved to have the luxury you have to have that incredible shampoo you use every morning. So what do we typically do? We go in the shower, we turn the water on, we put our hand in to make sure it's not going to scald us or be too cold. We find the Goldilocks temperature, and we go in and we go into the default mode, automatic pilot, and we start thinking and planning, and we're washing ourselves, but we're not there. God damn it, I can't believe I got to do this, and oh, that son of a bitch, and got to do this. And you get off and you dry yourself off still in your head, default mode, thinking and planning. Now in order to turn that into one of the most incredible, pleasurable experiences that a woman can have, is all you got to do is stop that incessant planning and thinking and come to what you're actually already feeling. You already bought the shower, okay? The water's already touching you. The soap's already there. All you have to do is start to feel it. Feel yourself touching, feel the water, feel the soap. Appreciate the one quality you can cultivate for health of the body, mind, and I'll add soul to that, is appreciation. It's not having more, it's appreciating what you have right now. Okay? You're in this shower and just appreciating what an incredible experience this is. And you feel yourself and you're drying yourself off and you're getting a massage. You just, if you remember a time, my daughter was telling me she remembers my wife braiding her hair and combing and taking care of her, and how luxurious that felt as a child. Well, every time you comb your hair, all you got to do is feel the comb going through your hair. So what if you're the one pushing the comb through? And it's a spa treatment, drying yourself off. So this is an informal practice that we want to turn into a formal practice, a moment to gain peace and luxury that you already have. And that's one of the challenges that I want between now and the time we meet 2 weeks from now. I want to challenge you to make your shower every morning a spa treatment. That you let everything go, you let all your plans, all the things that you're rehashing for the 100,000th time go, and you feel the sensation that you're having as you're having this spa treatment.
Is it okay to sing?
You can sing. You can sing. Okay? So instead of all these thoughts going on, business meeting and practice, all these things, we actually feel and take a shower. Okay? And we start to live our lives like that, taking these moments. You're eating, you're drinking water. How many people are struggling right now in the world for clean water to drink? How many people are struggling to have food today? And we have the blessing of having this wonderful food to choose from and to be comfortable and be fulfilled that way in our lives. We want to start owning this and appreciating this as a practice, as mindfulness way of living. Mindfulness isn't something you do, it's a way that you live your whole life. Okay? So I was supposed to go to Hawaii for vacation, and the hurricane was also coming to Hawaii the day I was leaving, so all the flights were canceled. The last minute, we switched and got a flight to Cabo, and I'm at this hotel, and I'm getting a towel, and there's a stack of books I see next to that people left there, kind of a lending library, and I see this book, Creativity, Inc., about Pixar. This is the CEO of Pixar. And I just started devouring it. This is perfect for me to read at this time. So Ed Catmull, and as I'm reading what he did to create this incredible creative environment at Pixar, which was so successful, and I'm seeing these qualities of turning towards things instead of resisting challenges, to go towards them and to meet them and expect them and embrace them. I'm thinking, these are the qualities of mindfulness. And then I get to the last chapter, and he talks about how he was, I forget the situation, but his wife gave him, as a present, a week-long silent meditation retreat, okay, which he did, and he was transformed by that. And now every year he does a silent meditation retreat where he takes a week of his life and engulfs his life into practicing mindfulness. And so we want to bring whatever that quality is that we can bring into our lives here. So what I want to do is to do a formal practice together. By the way, any questions before we do this? Any? Okay. Good. Yeah.
I picked up on 2 points. One was a proper technique to breathe,
Mhm.
breathe through your stomach. And the
Right.
other one was, it doesn't matter how you breathe, just watch it.
Right.
So,
Okay.
to be a gap.
Okay. Good point. There's two aspects to that, and they're both valid. Okay. Often the instruction is just to observe your breathing as it is. Okay. Eventually, what happens naturally as you relax is that most of the time people do start to let go and breathe into their belly naturally. Okay. What I like to do, because I see so many people who don't breathe correctly, and it sounds kind of crazy that we should learn to breathe, all right? But if you took singing lessons, or you would have to learn to breathe, or you wanted to play a wind instrument, because you get about 500 cc's more air with each breath. You have to naturally slow down your breathing, and your physiology is changing, okay? So what I like to look at is what I call right effort, okay? And that's a term that's used in meditation. And what it might be like, let's say sitting, some right effort at sitting. So you're at your computer desk, and you just kind of get tired, and you flop off, and you're typing like this and you're leaning back, okay? You could say that in one way you're relaxing because you're not using energy to sit up straight. You're letting yourself flop, okay? But you're going to end up with problems, sore back, all kinds of things that can happen. So right energy would be to realize that I want to put some effort into my pelvis and rotate my pelvis up. And when I shift the foundation of my sitting, look what happened to my whole upper body. Okay, so if I roll back like this, everything caves in. If I put a little energy into my pelvis, everything straightens up. That's right effort. Okay? The same thing with breathing. If I put a little efforting into making sure I'm breathing down into my belly, eventually that will become the default the way I breathe. So we want to cultivate that down into the way we breathe. If that's natural, you don't, and that's already the way you breathe, then you can go kind of to the next step, which is just to observe the breathing. So, very good question. Thank you. Anything else? Any other points like that? Yes? What? What happens if you fall asleep? Two things happen when we start off people meditating. And usually the second class would say, half the class fell asleep and half the class were anxious. They felt like they got more anxiety as they were meditating, okay? And what happens, what falling asleep is that first of all, most of us are tired. We don't get enough sleep. Stanford students, when they did a research, they had what's called a sleep debt of 40 hours. They had to actually get 40 hours over their normal 8 hours of day of sleep till they got caught up and relieve that. So as you start to relax, how do you fall asleep? You fall asleep by relaxing. So actually, as it's working and you're starting to settle down and relax, when you're tired, you can fall off to sleep. And at first, that's fine. Have great dreams, okay? Enjoy it, okay? And the next time, as you get more and more rested and realize, you want to cultivate that, then you'll find that it will evolve. So we want to kind of watch how this evolves in our life. For those of you who get anxious, it's like it's not that you failed or did it wrong. It's what's happening. It's revealing the anxiety that's there. You're anxious. And as you start to feel what's going on inside of you, you feel that anxiety. And what we're cultivating here is we're cultivating a loving, kind relationship with all aspects of ourselves. And so we start to bring love and kindness to the places we're anxious about. We hold it. So what mindfulness is not being a certain way. I call it a come-as-you-are party. This is a come-as-you-are party. So if you walk into a class or you're starting to meditate and you're really anxious and you're upset about something, that's how you are. And you bring that to the seat. You bring awareness to that. You don't change yourself, you bring awareness. The awareness itself is transformative. Things will evolve through the awareness itself. So we allow ourselves and be kind to ourselves in all the various states of human life. It's not how you are, it's how you're holding that. And when in doubt, hold it with kindness. If you can hold your anxiety in kindness, the anxiety is not a problem. It's only when you react to that same anxiety that it becomes a snowball of problem. So it's how we are relating to life and to ourselves. And mindfulness is the tool to have a non-judgmental, healthy relationship that creates the evolution that we want to create in our lives, which is to grow and learn and become healthier and happier through that. So there's a lot of paradox, is that I'm willing to be anxious seems like you're giving into anxiety and you're going to get carried away by it. And it's going to overcome you and it's going to destroy you. But it's just the opposite of that it's the willingness to experience it and to be with that and hold it in those kind ways that actually turns that into healing, transforms it. Okay? And so let's do a practice. Let's sit up in your chair. And put a little energy into your seat. We call it, if this was yoga, we call it sitting like a mountain. So you put a little energy into your lower back to elongate it and sit up straight. But you can also be relaxed in your body. And begin to tune in and feel yourself breathing. And as you're breathing in, just a little energy, just enough energy to bring that breath all the way down to the bottom of your lungs and then opening your belly. And following the sensation of the air moving through your nostrils, through your face, your throat, and down into your lungs, and the opening of the belly all the way down. And then the sensation of yourself letting go, letting the air release from your body at its own pace. No rush to get to the end of the out-breath or the end of the in-breath. And trying to stay with the sensations of your breathing. And as the mind, you lose connection for even a fleeting moment, the mind will fly away. And that's okay, because at some point you'll realize that and just gently and kindly bring yourself back to feel the breathing again. Just tuning into the sensation in your body as you breathe to the best you can at this moment. And as you're breathing, let yourself open up to the sensations in your body. Just letting all the nerve endings in your body be awake. From head to toe. And letting your ears be open to all the vibrations of sound coming to it. And allowing your mind to be open. Not getting carried away by thoughts, but letting the thoughts flow in their own. Just feeling the sense of activity of the mind. And we're going to finish by ringing a bell 3 times. And as you notice the sound of the bell rising, stay with that vibration, letting the vibration come into your ears. And see if you can hear the last vibration before the stillness of the bell ring. Notice how the room feels, notice how you feel, and when you're ready, opening your eyes. So one of the things that we want to recognize, that we want to bring together, just like this incredible company brought art and technology together, is I think of soap molecules. So every time you wash your hands or you're showering, the way soap works, it's a long molecule. Water and oil are insoluble. Soap has one end that's water soluble, one end that's oil soluble. The oil soluble joins with the oils. The water soluble joins with the water you're washing with and carries the oil away. So we have this thing that joins these opposites together. One of the things I want you to recognize as you practice this is that you're bringing stillness and activity together. That we need stillness in our lives. We need to bring that and actually to be better at it with our activity. And so the practice of bringing stillness in your life, of remembering how to let go, to remember how to be peaceful, to remember how to change inside so that you have the best physiology. You are a world-class athlete, each one of you. And an athlete performs best when they're relaxed and in flow. That's what athletes nowadays are being trained. There's mindfulness teachers in a lot of the professional sports, okay? The Warriors have a mindfulness teacher, the Seattle Seahawks, the Pittsburgh Penguins. A lot of mindfulness is being brought because this makes the performance outcome better, to learn to be still and quiet instead of having the antagonistic muscles engaged. It's more important to have the antagonist relaxed and you have more power. All martial arts is based on that. So I want to finish by reading you Martha Graham's instructions to her dance students. There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all of time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and will be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable, nor how it compares to other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours, clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. You do not even have to believe in yourself or your work. You have to keep open and aware directly of the urge that motivates you. Keep the channel open. And non-judgmental awareness is the vehicle for that. Okay? Your life is important. Your happiness is important. Your health is important to the world. And so this next 2 weeks, I'll be back with you in 2 weeks. We want to invite you to do the challenge the minute challenge, but also the challenge of taking that spa, having that spa treatment shower every day. When you're walking, instead of the pig pen cloud of dust that we walk around with, which is the default mode of the brain, the posterior cingulate cortex, neuroscience has named it now, instead of carrying that around with the thoughts and plans that are not productive and don't make you happy, we want to focus on the joy of walking, the joy of seeing plants, the joy of the sun hitting your body, the shower, all the feelings that are there, the direct experience of life. So challenging yourself to be mindful all day, to have a little teeny bit of attention, even 1% of your attention, to feel your breathing all day. And that naturally brings you into the present moment where you're alive. Okay? It doesn't take 100% of your attention. You can do it with 1% of your attention. You can be very busy and very active, but there's a little teeny bit of you that's actually feeling your breathing. And that's one of the challenges I like to invite you to bring into your life for the next couple of weeks. Okay? So we'll finish with any questions. We've got a few more minutes. Any thoughts? Yes.
Is it common or at all possible to experience sensations like, on the surface of the skin, possibly related to blood flow when you practice?
Yes. You'll feel all kinds of things that have been below the level of awareness. Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Is there a right time to breathe into your chest?
Yeah, if a saber-toothed tiger is chasing you, then get up and run like hell. Okay? Yes.
So it's interesting you talked about how we don't know how to breathe. So when I was trying to breathe, I feel like choked in my throat. Is it like normal? Is it?
So the reason I emphasize this is I see so many people who are so strongly, once you get into the pattern, it's hard. When I realized this, I realized I was not breathing correctly. I was one of the breathing up here, okay? And I became obsessive compulsive about exaggerating. getting my belly out like this every time I breathe. I mean, I was literally OC about it because I knew the importance. And it's really a big change to get your diaphragm to go down. And for a lot of people, it's difficult.
Yeah,
It-
it feels like an extra effort that I
Yes.
have to do. It's just like I'm doing more work for breathing.
At first you are, but you get the benefit of that. It's like climbing a mountain. Right now you're going up this part. You're going to get to the other side where you're going to get the benefit from it. In the long run, it's a wonderful thing to do for the rest of your life, to cultivate that. Because if you lived this way for the rest of your life, you're going to be getting the impacts of that stress that it's creating. Yes?
So I've been in the same pattern, like forcing it, but I've been stuck in that pattern for quite a while.
Uh-huh.
And so it became a pattern and not going on the other side.
Okay.
Making it.
One of the things that an opera singer taught me, I said, well, how can I teach this the easiest way? And what she told me is her teacher has her try to get as wide as she can as she breathes in. So a lot of women in particular, I'm not being sexist here, but women are taught, God forbid you should ever let your stomach go. I hear it all the time, I have to say it, okay? So there's a resistance to, I think my stomach's gonna stick out. And men wanna be kind of tough, okay? But if you think of getting wide, because your lungs are really in the back. So what it is, one of the easy ways to do it is just get as wide as you can as you breathe in. And try that and see what that does. So it might just be the method that you're practicing can be honed in a little bit. Okay? Yes?
I just wanted to say that I had to force myself to breathe at the upper chest level. Like
Uh-huh.
It was more natural for me to breathe through my diaphragm. So I don't think it's always, it's always natural to breathe through the chest.
Yeah, no, good.
And
You won the prize already.
the other thing is, when you're trying to meditate and you're trying to keep your mind from wandering, it's much harder to not have anything on your mind than to have, say, something good to think about, or keep something good that you focus on your mind. That is also one method of meditation that I know some Eastern philosophies have.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the difference between the two, and which one do you think is?
Well, in what we're doing in this particular practice, there's nothing wrong with having good thoughts and sustaining good thoughts. But we're opening with our senses in a way that creates this particular way of living our lives and focusing. And optimism and health and happiness naturally come out of that, and the good thoughts actually come out of that. So trying to think of good thoughts all the time, there's nothing wrong with that. Being optimistic, looking at the bright side of things and everything. But there's a little bit of control there. There's nothing bad. I always think of these things as we try to say which method is best. And I don't like to get in that. They're all different doors into the same room. And that's with it. Is it TM? Is it this? Is it that? No, they're all good. They all have some of the overlapping qualities. But with this particular practice, we're doing, this is the door that we're using to get into that room. Yeah.
Bit of a pessimist approach to this. Why do we become really mindful once we lose some faculty?
Once we lose what?
Some faculty, like I break my arm or something, and then I'm all the time thinking about it, or I lose like this eyesight or something.
Well,
Become more aware in that sense.
yeah, because actually I was reading this in the book Altered Traits last night when I was reviewing some of the things about the posterior cingulate cortex. When you have something that you're focusing on, it actually quiets that part of your brain. So it's more that, okay, now I have this strong focus. Sometimes we actually, climbing a mountain, you have to put all your attention on where your foothold is, where your handhold is. And people love that because they're so present, okay? And sometimes when we're in a crisis or something, or we get injured, that becomes such a strong focus that it actually helps us it's an easy thing to hold on to, that focus. And what it's doing is that focus quiets the default part of the brain. That's what that is. Okay, thank you so much. You can hold your questions till next time. See you. Take care.